Welcome to another Fantasy Goodfellas video where we talk about the top 30 running back rankings for Week 7. You ready?
Those Fantasy Goodfellas.
Rolling on the field.
Those Fantasy Goodfellas.
All right, before we get started, let me remind you guys that these are not my predictions and rankings. This is compiled with a lot of these sports writers that we put in here, and then I use it to talk about during my video as I show you some stats, graphs, and trends. So this way, it can help you with your own lineups. All right, let's just get right into it. At number 1, you have Christian McCaffrey at the Minnesota Vikings. Now, if Christian McCaffrey plays or if he's injured, this is going to affect it, obviously. Now, the question is can you depend on Christian McCaffrey? This video and this rankings starts early, so if you watch this towards the end of the week, this could all change. But right now, you got Christian McCaffrey, number 1. I don't think he's going to be number 1 when the week ends. But it's Christian McCaffrey. If he plays, you're in. At number 2, Raheem Mostert at the Philadelphia Eagles. This is going to be an incredible matchup. This is a high-powered offense with a fairly good defense, high-powered offense with a okay defense. Now the question is now that Akon didn't play, Mostert was going to have a good game because this is still a running offense. But look, Mostert, the number 1 running back in Week 6, and let's just look at his TD trends. He's had a game with 4 TDs. He's had a game with 3 TDs. He's getting into the end zone, and that's why Mostert is the surprise of the season of how well he's doing. At number 3, Josh Jacobs at the Chicago Bears. Now, the question I have is if Justin Fields doesn't play, they might have to pass more, which is going to give a lot more attempts and plays for the Las Vegas Raiders. So I expect this team to have many more chances in Week 7. And the question is, does Garoppolo play? But pay attention to that. But I think you're going to have a few players do really well. At number 4, you have Kenneth Walker, home versus the Arizona Cardinals. This is a team that is surprisingly not doing too well, but sometimes you don't need that much for your team to succeed. So Kenneth Walker, 62 rushing yards, 1 TD. That gets you, with 27 receiving yards, that gives you the 7th ranked running back in Week 6. Now, in comparison, I'm looking at how he did week after week after week, and he's in the top 30, several times. So if you have Kenneth Walker, he's worth playing and starting. At number 5, Austin Ekeler at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chargers, again, the Chargers are starting to pick up in their passing attack. So if we look at Austin Ekeler, he had 14 attempts, 27 rushing yards. That's not good. But as a receiver, he had 4 catches to 35 yards. That is really well. And if you look at Keenan Allen, 85 receiving yards, it's just trying to show you where that ball's going. And Justin Herbert, 227 receiving yards. You expect a little bit more. But it's really the question here is how much production can Austin Ekeler get in the air? Receiving. Number 6, Isaiah Pacheco, home versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, Pacheco, I like this kid. He seems to have a great attitude. He's playing really well. Look at this. He had 62 rushing yards, 36 receiving yards. That's 22 attempts per se, and that's a lot of production. That's a lot of usage, and I think that should tell you something that Pacheco can continue to do well. We expect Pacheco to have a good game, and I would be starting Pacheco for sure. At number 7, Alvin Kamara, home versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this is Alvin Kamara. If you have Derek Carr, and if Alvin Kamara could do this isn't bad, right? He's the 15th ranked running back. If you have him, that means he's top 16 teams, he's up there. So it's Kamara. You're just going to rock with him. Anyways, at number 8, Travis Etienne at the New Orleans Saints. Travis Etienne had himself a game with 2 TDs, 55 rushing yards, 28 receiving yards. That was good for the third best running back. At number 9, Saquon Barkley, home versus the Washington Commanders. Now, Barkley, this is going to be interesting. He had 93 rushing yards and 5 receiving yards. But the problem is somewhere along the line, if that team ain't winning, it's going to be a tough season. And if they're not winning, things are going to fall apart. And I would tell you here, Tyrod Taylor did pretty well. But, again, we expect more. We expect the Giants to do well. Then they're going against the Washington Commanders. That should be something to be said. But it's Saquon Barkley. He's still the best of the best. At number 10, DeAndre Swift versus the Miami Dolphins. Now, DeAndre Swift, he was the 17th best running back, but most of it was in the air. Now, if the Dolphins can prevent that and make him go against the ground, that's where it's going to be really coming to. But he's kind of dwindling down a little bit, right? Look at this trend. You have DeAndre Swift, but look at this trend. He's going to have to bounce back sometime, and is this going to be the week that he bounces back? Not sure. But look, his fantasy points goes with his yardage. And TDs-wise, he's scoring every other week. So if we follow the trend, he might not score, but it's Swift. He's still one of the best. At number 11, Aaron Jones at the Denver Broncos. Well, if you're an Aaron Jones owner, this is the game that you're hoping that Aaron Jones comes back and kicks some butt, right? So it's the Denver Broncos. I like anybody going against the Denver Broncos. At number 12, you got Bijan Robinson at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a matchup I like to see. I think Robinson should have a fairly good game. But look, you finally got Cordell Patterson. He came back, right? He didn't get no carries. But I expect Bijan Robinson to have a very good game. And you're going to play him. At number 13, Jonathan Taylor, home versus the Cleveland Browns. Now, there's some question about if Taylor comes back, how good can he do? So Taylor comes back. He was the 29th ranked running back, and he only had 8 attempts on the ground. So if I want to look at this, Zach Moss had 7 carries for 21 yards and a TD. So how is this? Look at this. Gardner Minshew, 55 pass attempts. Are you kidding me? If you pass the ball that many times, Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss are not going to get that many carries. Now they're going against the Cleveland Browns, which that defense is not bad. So now that's going to be an interesting week this week for Jonathan Taylor. I expect Jonathan Taylor to do a little bit better than last week. Number 14, Brian Robinson Jr. at the New York Giants. Brian Robinson got into the end zone in the air. Sam Howell is a good quarterback. I think that is the pick of the season. Some people pick him up on the waiver wires. If you picked him up on the waiver wires, boy, are you having a good season because of that. At number 15, Ramondre Stevenson versus the Buffalo Bills. Now, Stevenson got into the end zone. He had 46 rushing yards, 24 receiving yards. And I just want to look at this picture. Mac Jones played, but his pass completion percentage was really good, but only 200 yards passing. So that defense is questioning. Now you're going against the Buffalo Bills. I don't expect Stevenson to have a good game. If they're going to have anything, it's going to be more the wide receivers and the tight ends when it comes to this week. Stevenson, I don't expect him to be ranked this high. I think that's a stretch. Number 16, Alexander Madison versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, 49ers have a good defense. Now you expect Alexander Madison to have a good game. He was the 25th ranked running back in Week 6. What's going to happen? But everybody likes Madison. If he comes in at rank 25, he needs to start if he's in your lineup. At number 17, James Cook at the New England Patriots. Now, if you got James Cook, in week 6, he had 71 rushing yards for 5.1 yards a carry. So what you need is another game with about 14 to 16 attempts. And that is what you would need him to do. But they're going against the New England Patriots. I expect them to play. I expect James Cook to have a better game. I think he can do good. At number 18, you got D'Onta Foreman, home versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, if you don't have Justin Fields, look, I got to update this. But if you don't have Justin Fields, that means you might get Foreman into the end zone on those short yardage carries. So I expect Foreman to get into the end zone this week. Number 19, you have Rashad White, home versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this is White. He was not in the top 30. You got to be questioning whether you're going to start him. Even if you have a team with White on it, you'd have to have two other better running backs to play. He's right on the cusp of not starting and giving somebody else a shot if you're looking to kind of get into the end zone. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not scoring this season. That's something to be questionable. They are going against the Atlanta Falcons playing at home, but I think Rashad White needs to score, and if you're going to start him, that's what you're looking at, and you're trying to look at if anybody else can score and get into the end zone. At number 20, Jerome Ford at the Indianapolis Colts. You know, ever since the running back went down, we depended on Ford to kind of step up, and this is what it looks like. He was the 21st ranked running back in week 6. He did that with 84 rushing yards and 7 receiving yards. So let's just look. This is what his rushing yards looks like, right? He only surpassed 100 once. TDs, he only got into the end zone in week 2 and week 3. And for points, he seems to be kind of bouncing back to where he is. So I'd expect him to have probably the same points as week 6. At number 21, Jahmyr Gibbs at the Baltimore Ravens. So we got to go back and look and how he's doing in previous weeks. Gibbs not cutting it. I wouldn't even start Gibbs this week. Just don't like what's going on up there. I think he's ready to drop out and look for some other backup. Number 22, Naji Harris at the Los Angeles Rams. What's going on there? I think we got to look at that was must have been a bye week. So if we go back another week, Harris did 37 receiving yards, rushing yards, 3 receiving yards. But look at this. In week 5, 2.6 yards a carry. In week 4, 5.1. In week 3, 3.4. In week 2, 4.3. And in week 1, 5.2 yards a carry. It's not cutting it. Harris might not be starting this week. I don't know if you can depend on him. Now, 23, A.J. Dillon at the Denver Broncos. All right, sign me up. It's the Denver Broncos. Let's go. Let's play him. In week 6, let's go back to week 5. He had 76 rushing yards and 1 TD. So he's going against the Denver Broncos. You got to play Dillon if he's on your fantasy team. I would trust him this week. At number 24, Javante Williams versus the Green Bay Packers. Here you go. 52 rushing yards. That's it. That team's not looking too good. I would not play Williams. You better try somebody else. At number 25, Gus Edwards, home versus the Detroit Lions. So how does Gus Edwards do this? Well, he was the 34th ranked running back, 2.6 yards a carry last game. That's not cutting it. I think Gus Edwards got to be questioning whether you're going to keep starting him. He's outside the top 32 most weeks. I wouldn't even start him. Number 26, you have David Montgomery at the Baltimore Ravens. If you got Montgomery, he's all over the place, right? 1 week he can be the number 1 running back. And most of the time, he's 50-50 to be in your top 32. On a 16-team league, that means you have 2 running backs he's in. He's not in right now. But I would not play David Montgomery, but too many weapons up there. At number 7, too many vowels there. Tony Ingram, probably butchered that, at the Seattle Seahawks. Now, Ingram, he had 40 rushing yards, 11 receiving yards. He was ranked 35. How has he done all season? Well, he's outside. So that's the question. Not sure why he's in the top 30, but it looks like those predictions are putting it against Seattle Seahawks. Not sure I like that. At number 28, Kareem Williams, home versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, he was your second best running back in week 2. I think he's been in the top 5 before. Let's take a look at that. He's been in the top 5 many times. So 4 out of the 6 weeks, he's been in the top 6. So he's definitely starting if he's on your team. Number 29, Ezekiel Elliott, home versus the Buffalo Bills. Now, why? He got into the end zone in week 6. That's why he's in your top 30. So do you expect him to get, look at this rushing yards, only surpassed 80 rushing yards once? TDs, he's scored once. And now all of a sudden, you got Ezekiel Elliott versus the Buffalo Bills. I don't like it. I think that's a stretch. I would not put him as your starter. I would not start him. Number 30, Zack Evans versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now we're looking at Zack Evans. Let's just look at his chart here. Outside. So why is he in here? I don't know. Versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's questionable. So what I hope that you notice this week is that sometimes in these predictions, they're ranked in the top 30, but I like to look that if I start 2 running backs, they need to be producing and give me top 32. They need to be in the top 32 rankings. I don't know about that flex spot, but my running back that I start has to be in the top 32. And I would say the gamble is whether they get into the end zone or not. And those should be the decisions that you make. All right. Thanks for watching this video. I hope I showed you some stats and some trends and some graphs that helps you with your own lineups. All right. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and good luck this week.
The Fantasy Goodfellas.
Rolling on the field.
The Fantasy Goodfellas.